My name's John Bryan, and I've always been a history buff. I've always gotten into collecting old things, looking for old things, and I've always been into reading, so just reading old books. And that really sparked my interest in history, so naturally I wanted to learn more about the area I live in. I've always been interested in West Virginia history before the Civil War. Kids have been taught that West Virginia history begins in 1863 during the Civil War. Well, we have a really rich history from the 18th century, from the Revolutionary War period and before. It's always been cool to me to go find the actual spot where something happened. I got a metal detector at a flea market. It was really for the purpose of locating some of these spots. It was just a lot of fun, and it was just kind of addicting.
It's like a treasure hunt.
Yeah, it was like a connection with history. Check this out. Pulled out this awesome buckle. You know, I started posting on Facebook, on my law firm Facebook page, all these historical places that I found, and I'd post details on them. I realized that there was this animosity between metal detectorists and civilians in the archaeology world and the academics. So they started to kind of attack me online, and I got one really nasty private message one day from a lady who said, you should not call anything that you find archaeology, because you're not finding archaeology, you're not doing archaeology, you're nothing but a scavenger. That just triggered something. I had an idea, it was kind of a light bulb moment, and I said, fine, I'm scavenging, so let's call it scavengology. I started to use that term, and people really liked it, and it kind of caught on. I ended up just starting a separate Facebook page to, just for all my historical shenanigans. I started to, keep information on a blog on my website, and that's kind of still what I'm doing, is just trying to compile a lot of the pictures and information that goes along with it and the finds. Got something really neat in this hole here. Don't know what it is yet. My mission here is to preserve this part of our history. I want to show, especially kids, how exciting history is, the real history of our area. I had always wanted to recreate an 18th century fort, like the frontiersman era of the 1770s, 1780s. I thought, how cool would it be to have one here and actually put it in the right spot? And about that time, I found out about this property for sale, known as Burnside's Fort. I just immediately fell in love with that house. It was gigantic up close for an old house. And we ended up buying the place within a couple of weeks. In the meantime, I had read the information on the National Register of Historic Places on it, and I was like, wow, this is really fascinating. I mean, there's a fort inside this house, an 18th century fort that was still standing. This is the original section of fort on this end. Day one of owning it, I took a crowbar out and broke a hole in the old plaster walls and just kind of held my breath and to see what was behind it, because there were no guarantees. And boom. There were the logs. Turns out they were all there and all perfectly preserved. Bought some respirators and some goggles and some crowbars and just went at it myself. This is downstairs of the original fort. That was the original fireplace of the fort. You can see the charring on the beam up there. Then I found another shooting port right here. You can see where it was blocked off, and there's a little lip in here so that you could plug it and it could only come out from the inside. And here's where someone noticed that there was charring, where like you were shooting a flintlock out of here. And they also used white oak logs. So that's about the hardest wood that they could find. Makes it virtually impenetrable as far as being bulletproof. It just got more important, the things we found. So not only in the house, but outside the house. This is the hole, really the only hole we've opened up on the property. All the stuff started coming up. I mean, we just found all sorts of early things. 1770s era Artois shoe buckles. We found, mid-1700s tableware. We started to find giant, keys, big padlocks, and coins. We've got Yeah, this one right here is a 1721 Spanish silver coin. 1721 found right there in that hole. Evidence that there were people here really early on. The newest date it was chinked, we can tell upstairs, was 1855 because this girl wrote her name, Ellen E. Tolbert, 1855. So it kind of became just, well, we're saving this old house, and really got more and more like, well, I think this needs to be a museum. And so I wrote our first book on it because so many people were following along. We published volume 1 of the Scavengology Journal called Discovering Burnside's Fort. What we're going to do is we're going to keep it looking like a Civil War era plantation house from the outside. And from the inside, the logs are going to be exposed. While it'd be cool to return it to a fort, it still may be the only fort that you can walk into that's real.